welcome to Someone Else's Story and the third and final installment of Resolution Real Talk. Today I will be joined by my dear friend Victoria Sullivan as we compare some notes on the world of online dating. Enjoy! Sure. Vicky, welcome. Hi, how's it been?
Good.
It's
nice
been
to
a pandemic.
see you.
Oh, it's good to see you too. So Vic, we obviously met at school.
We did.
I say obviously because that's a different episode on that camera. It's a different episode. Go check it. The other people in the group have been slightly more fortunate in love than us. Is that fair to say?
Well, they met their boyfriends at school.
Premature?
so-
No, early. They were straight on it.
Early.
And so
Fell
we
in love.
we have
We've had to explore the world.
we've gone fishing a bit more. We've gone fishing. When did you first dive into the depths of online dating?
I remember it quite specifically actually because one of my housemates at the time, she was like, girls, I've heard of this thing called Tinder. She's like, I'm not really sure about it, but it's like online dating, but it's supposed to be like, I don't know, like younger people and fun and not like old and cringy, like when you think of like the newspaper online dating from back in the day. So I set up a profile, put some pictures on, and basically the first guy that I matched with, we ended up having a conversation and he ended up being my boyfriend for a whole year.
She won. She won Tinder. For me, I remember a housemate. I had a breakup, and a housemate said, "You're fine. Don't worry. I'm going to do an online dating profile for you." On OkCupid, who remembers that site?
Yes.
That was years ago. And then more recently, I went on Tinder just because I became aware that the people I was dating were either performers, or friends of friends, and I just kind of wanted to broaden my horizons and meet some exciting people, and I did, and it was great. So we both had a few years on that, haven't we? On the
7 years. Bad luck.
going great. No, not at all. But I think we're in a good place to offer our top 10 tips for online dating. First and foremost, the most important tip I can say is safety first, people. I mean emotional, I mean mental, I mean physical. Online dating is hard. If it is too much for you and you do not want to do it anymore, come off the app, delete it, go back on when you are good and ready. If you are meeting up with people, make sure someone knows. Make sure people know where you're going. Make sure people know who you're meeting. Also, a lot of pubs have various kind of code words. I personally don't think the codes are necessary. If I was working in a pub and someone came up to me and said, my date is not who he says he was, you need to get me out of this situation, I would help that person. But just be so safe, because there are some not very nice people out there. There are lots of lovely people out there, so don't let the fear of that deter you, but just make sure you're being sensible.
Tip number 2, create a strong profile. What I mean by that is, don't put all your pictures on in one day. Take a selection, some on your own, some with your friends. Be honest about your height and your age and whatever other questions that they ask.
I would say
you.
expectations as well about what you want from it.
Yeah,
Are you long-term orientated? Are you not?
that's true. So yeah, if there's a chance to answer questions, put some effort in.
Yeah,
Don't just put a dot. I've seen that before.
absolutely not. No, I reject people who don't say anything about them because I'm like, I don't know anything about you to make a decision on.
Need some substance.
Need some substance.
And just make sure the pictures are taken within the last 4 years. There's definitely a guy I went on a date with last year and whose pictures were taken about 20 years ago.
Hi, if you're watching.
Which would make him probably about 50. So I think he lied on 2 accounts. Pictures and age.
Important. Good. So in addition to being honest, also, I think you need a witty little bio. And I found this really hard. I messaged my bio around to several friends before they were like, this is okay. And be honest about your interests, be honest about your expectations from the app or the site or wherever you find yourself. But also like, tell me random stuff. Tell me like what color your toothbrush is. Tell me like if you like the hot or cold side of the pillow. If you like the hot side, you're a psychopath and I'm gonna reject you. No, but keep it you. Keep it very quintessentially you. I find you run into dangerous territory if you put something out there that's not you, and then all of a sudden the person I'm talking to is not matching up with the bio that I've clicked yes, I like you on.
Yeah, if you don't be honest, you're going to get figured out at the end of the day. So you're just wasting everybody's time.
Exactly.
But mostly
Don't
your
waste
own.
time. Don't do it. A really important one, don't be a I don't know if you found this. Online dating is you're quite vulnerable. You're making yourself quite vulnerable. You're opening up your heart to strangers. And I think that requires a certain level of care. And it's so tricky, sometimes things work, sometimes things don't. But I just think the number one golden rule that I would say is try and be as nice to each other as possible. Life is hard enough, guys. Don't make it any harder.
That's a nice tip. Yeah,
Thanks.
I agree.
Thanks.
Maybe don't ghost somebody.
Yeah, no ghosting.
Just make up a story. Say, oh, my boyfriend's got back in touch.
No, don't make up a story. Don't lie. I'm always quite honest. I'm just like, look, I don't see you going any further. But hey.
And my next tip is meeting up with somebody. I think it gets to a point where you just need to meet them in person. I wouldn't say meet up with them without knowing anything about them, but maybe within a couple of weeks. Because I think honestly there's either an attraction or there isn't, and you can feel the chemistry like straight away, right? So rather than just keep something dragging out for a very long time, meet them and just see if you fancy him a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, right? So
I used to have a rule of 6 message exchanges. That quickly went, but it was quite good at the beginning to be like, no, you can get stuck in a loop of just messaging relentlessly, and there's a whole real world out there, guys. That's the one you want to live in. So yeah.
That's true. Meet them, have a drink, go for dinner.
My next tip is open questions. I mean this when you are meeting up. I mean this when you are messaging. Show interest in the other person. True story. I've had people I've been messaging come back and be like, you're really quiet. And I'm like, you haven't asked me anything. You haven't asked me how my day was. You haven't asked me what I'm interested in. And as you well know, I'm not quiet. So yeah, just be open with questions. Be invested in finding out about the person you're talking to.
Slightly more than, hey, how are you?
Yeah. Open questions, guys. Open questions.
So I have one story that I would like to share. I actually met this guy through work, and he is a travel agent. So I thought, oh, this is a bit risque, meeting somebody through work. Anyway, he was very cute. He messaged me on LinkedIn of all places and gave me his number. Basically, we went to a cocktail bar. So drinks aren't cheap, right? Cocktail was like £10-12. He went to pay for the first round of drinks. I don't know why they did it per drink, but that's how it was. He's like, oh, my card's got declined. This is so embarrassing. It must have been because I got my new card this morning and then I activated it. So then this one's been deactivated. So obviously I was like, oh yeah, no worries. Like, I'll get these and you can pay for the drinks next time. So 3 or 4 drinks later, I've paid, what was that, almost £100 in drinks.
Oh, Vic.
And I was really happy because we had such a successful date. Of course we're going to see each other again. I never heard
Alas.
from him again.
Still waiting on that return date. My next tip is come as you are. And it kind of picks up on a lot of what we're saying about being honest, but I kind of think from the flip side of, we all have our hang-ups, we all have our anxieties, we all have a, oh my goodness, I must filter myself to be what that person wants me to be. And it's only really kind of within the last year, it's amazing what a pandemic will do for a person. It's kind of been the last year that I've got comfortable enough with myself to be like, no, sorry, I am going to order that sharing platter for 1 on our first date, because I think it's important that you understand what you're getting into here. I've become a lot less filtered. And I think that's important. I think you're just gearing yourself up for better longevity instead of constantly having these barriers of, oh, this is where they discover that I can eat an entire starter for 2 in one sitting, or, those kind of things. Yeah, don't be scared. Just go and live your very best.
My next tip would be, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I'd personally have a few conversations on the go at one time because...
She likes to play the field, as Arvik.
Someone's going to disappear. At least one person's going to disappear. Someone else is going to be not your type of person. you're not going to feel the chemistry with another person. So just keep 5 or 6 conversations. Hopefully you'll meet up with 2, and then hopefully want to be decent.
I also think it's fair to, like, everyone does that. I don't think no one is on Tinder like, I'm just going to swipe to yes to this person one at a time. Like, I think everyone has a couple on the go. Unfortunately, these kind of links back to another point about there is inevitably a time where you're like, oh, no further, sorry. But if you're honest, it's okay.
Yeah, I think especially in the early days, it's fine to message a few people.
Yeah. Otherwise, I definitely get obsessive about, like, why aren't you messaging me back?
So message the other person.
Yeah, message your backup. Unbelievable. This is the best advice ever.
So another story I would like to share is I had a date with a Canadian guy who just moved to London. He was a teacher. He turned up for the date and handed me a half-dead potted plant. So half of me was like, wow, a guy's never bought me flowers before. But it wasn't really flowers because it was in a pot.
Great.
And I'm pretty sure it was like the last day of term, so it was just like in his classroom. We also met up in Leicester Square, which is fine, but he'd never been into M&M world before. He was like, do you mind if we just like have a little browse around? I was like, no, it's fine, I don't mind. And he just touched and grabbed everything. He was like, oh my God, look at this keyring, look at this M&M,
Just
look
thrilled,
at this
so
M&M.
thrilled.
Like, he's got a lot of energy for a shop that I don't really care about. Anyway, he was just very intense and very lovely, but it just wasn't really going anywhere.
Sorry, incoming keys.
So we had a few drinks and it was fine, but I was like, tried to be quite honest, like, it's been nice, like, I'm not sure if I really want to see you again. And then we're walking back to Charing Cross and then realised very quickly that we were both going to get the same train home, bar one stop. So we had to sit next to each other.
After you just told him that you didn't want to see him again.
Yes, and I just wanted to like debrief on my own and listen to my music.
Oh,
So,
Vic.
the date continued for 35 more minutes.
Than it needed to. Check your train lines, people. Check your train lines. Thank you, Vic, for coming and sharing some weird and wacky experiences of online dating. It is a bit nuts out there, guys. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Online dating is like a full-time job, but I'm determined that the right guy is out there. So keep it up, persevere, and if all else fails, you have some great funny stories to share with your friends.
True story. I think for me, the big thing, weirdly, through online dating, I've got more comfortable with myself, which has been great. Online dating is not the only way. It is not the be-all and end-all. And I would say try and keep that in perspective. And do look after yourself. Look after yourself. Love yourself first and foremost. It sounds cliche, but it is so important. And just have fun. Just have fun. Make sure you've got friends around you that you can debrief these stories with and enjoy. A huge thank you to Vic for coming and joining us as someone else's story, and we will see you for another episode again soon. Sending so much love. Mwah!